it's a very fun, it's a small presentation on Ayurvedic My Plate. Now, you know that there was used to be, does anybody remember the pyramid? Do you guys remember the pyramid? Yeah, okay. And just feel free to unmute yourself if you want. I want this to be interactive. Has anyone been in a hospital or been with has had a registered nutrition appointment in the last couple of years? Have you had that?
I have. Heather has.
Because of the baby, right?
Yep, exactly.
And so what is it that stood out? Were they talking about my plate, and what is it that stood out from that consultation?
She was concerned about iron and about where I was getting it from. And because I'm a vegetarian, she really fixated on that.
At least she didn't fixate on protein. Sometimes they'll fixate on protein as well. So from Ayurveda, it's a great, I'll just put it out there. We suggest iron in a natural state as it comes. So for example, gourd. Gourd is the dried molasses. Does everybody know what molasses is?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have the regular molasses that you can get, that they use it for barbecuing and whatnot. It's a form of a, dark sugar that comes from heating up sugarcane, right? So Ayurveda uses dried molasses. We call it gourd. And molasses has obviously the one that you get from the, your Whole Foods or whatever natural stores. You should get hexane free. It should not have been processed with chemicals. Now, the problem is that molasses is filled with iron, but it is not good for a kapha person. Now, sugar is cooling. You all remember, right? Sugar is cooling, but molasses is warming. Can you guess why molasses is warming? Any ideas?
Is it because it's from a tree? Like it's
No,
more
sugar is a byproduct of molasses. So you have a tree, and there is these like bamboo. You know how bamboo grows? There is something called sugar cane. So they take the sugar cane and they take the juice out of sugar cane, and that sugar cane juice is heated and thickened, and that is molasses. It has fiber in it. It has iron in it. Whenever there's presence of iron, it has a very high content of iron in it. Iron is heating, and because molasses, that's why it is dark in color. The dark color comes from iron. Sugar, when iron is separated from the molasses, sugar is literally the trash, the muller, the waste product of the molasses. Does it make sense? So I'm talking about the pure white sugar, not the brown sugar. Brown sugar has some iron mixed in. So it's so when we are concerned about a pregnant woman in Ayurveda, I'm totally not talking about what I'm supposed to talk about, but I think it's interesting. So molasses has iron in it, right? So because of that, it's dark. And so think of molasses literally like a liquid iron. Yeah. So body needs very trace amounts of iron. And when a woman is pregnant, she needs more than trace amounts. Isn't that right? She needs more than.
Yeah, I was anemic the entire time.
Yeah. And another thing, and now there is no statement that tells, but I'm telling you, I have worked with at least 1,000, if not more than 1,000, maybe 1,100 pregnant people, Vata women, either trying to get pregnant, postpartum. It is very common because the quality of lightness is there. So the quality of lightness in a like a Vata person will manifest itself as less blood tissue, less rasadhatu, less plasma. So they tend to be on the anemic side. They also tend to make a little bit less estrogen than their pitta counterparts or than their kapha counterparts, because the quality of lightness is also coming in their menstrual period. Quality of lightness is coming in amount because their body is light, they're thin. So those of you, if you're a thin person, you don't have enough tissue, and when you're stressed out, or you're imbalanced, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to go low on blood tissue, right? So we want you to have liquid iron, the molasses, all the time. So herein there is a difference between my plate and Ayurvedic my plate right off the bat. We want you to have natural sugar. Sugar is not bad. We want you to have natural sugar, like from molasses, right? In Ayurveda, molasses is dried because this is thousands of years ago. We didn't have any refrigerator, and it's easier. Otherwise, molasses will attract ants and everything. So they used to dry it out. So you have the old molasses, which is called good, and you have the newly made molasses, old good, or called Purana good. So old molasses is the best for all. The longer you leave it, it's almost like wine, it gets better with age. So a vata person can have even, but kapha and pitta, ideally the old molasses, it has been lying around for 6 months, 1 year. It's easier to digest. We're talking about the dried molasses here, which is called good. Yes, this is blackstrap molasses. Yes, Lori, you take the blackstrap molasses. Of course, it should be processed without any hexane or any other additives, and then you dry it up. So the dried part in Ayurveda is what we use. It's called gur sugar. I don't know. It's like ghee butter. They are selling it as good. I'll show you. So the moral of the story is we also have a my plate, just like the Western my plate. So they want you to take an iron pill, right? In pregnancy or whatever. We want you to take food, which is, for example, we'll ask you to have date sugar or date syrup, right? Or dates. Dates is very high in iron. And so we want you to have blackstrap molasses in the form of good, ideally, because it's easier, but you can also have the the liquid portion as well. Now, it is hard to digest. Did we know this? Now, if you take an iron pill, it is hard to digest. You have to have it with vitamin C or orange juice or something. And especially for pregnant women, their stools will become very, very like dark, and it's drying, right? But when you're taking it in a plant-based form like good or blackstrap molasses or date sugar, then body will only use as much as it needs to. We still want to give you orange juice or something which is vitamin C to absorb that iron, but we also give you triphala. So an Ayurvedic trick is triphala plus something which is high in vitamin C. Usually we end up giving amla or amlaki because it's very good for a pregnant woman, or even if you're not pregnant, even anybody who's anemic. So triphala, vitamin C, usually from amla, or orange juice is fine too, and your iron in form of good or black strap molasses. So we are giving the same thing, but where it is coming from, and why do you think we are giving triphala? I already answered. Think about it, Melissa. Why are we giving triphala when we give good or black strap molasses?
It helps with digestion.
Yeah, because usually if you're a vata, taking iron supplement or whatever will make you a little bit constipated. And iron does not get it's trace amounts of iron is needed to digest and metabolize. So it helps to metabolize that iron and use it up. So from Ayurvedic perspective, it is, in fact, we usually the iron tablets that you get for Ayurveda, it is basically Gur, Triphala, and Amla. So you take a little bit of Gur powder, a little bit of Amla powder, Triphala. Well, Triphala already has Amla in it, so you don't need to add extra Amla there. So just Triphala and Gur. So Triphala is the iron supplement that we give. I hope you enjoyed that tidbit. This is basically there is a book called Bhava Prakash. We do it to prevent constipation. No, it depends. Now, this is why we need to do a consultation. If yes, you can. So there is a concept called Anupana. In Ayurveda, you do not take supplements just with water. You take it either with milk or ghee or hot water or teas or juices. And it is called Anupana, and you will study about it. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw it out there that this part, do you see the difference between Ayurvedic nutrition and Western? We also want a pregnant woman to have iron. The registered dietitian will give, we're doing the same thing, except we are using uh and I mean, if in India, your grandmother or your mother-in-law or the older women, they all know this. And as soon as a woman is pregnant or, trying to get pregnant, you get them started. And even after, uh, once you've had the baby, right? Once you've had the baby, you're still supposed to be on your prenatal supplements. So ideally, we want to give this. And remember, molasses is heating. It is not cooling. So it can be given to a kapha person as well, right? But obviously, for a pitta person, you're going to give it in smaller amounts, heating, right? Yeah. So I'm going to save this. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions about this before I move further?
I have a question. It's Heather.
Sure. Yeah.
So are dates cooling?
Yeah.
So you could give dates to a pitta person as opposed to.
You could
okay.
also give molasses. You just cannot do, the reason I say this, you just cannot overdo it because we need trace amounts of iron. So
Okay.
yeah, you can do date sugar. There is something called date syrup. Has anybody used date syrup?
No.
So
No.
some great, first of all, sugar is not the enemy. Like right off the bat. For example, people in United States, there's a whole propaganda. Sugar is the enemy when all you do is eat sugar, and that sugar is white sugar. So some great sugars are honey, obviously, but you cannot cook with honey, right? Because honey becomes toxic when cooked. Honey, date syrup, and good molasses. These are the three main sugars. Of course, nowadays, in my time, we never had it. There is also coconut sugar. I absolutely love it. And coconut sugar seems to be not as cooling as coconut. I sometimes have coconut sugar. It almost tastes like molasses to me. I mean, and you get it both in liquid form and this. So anybody, and I know there's agave. I don't know what to do about agave. I mean, what do you guys think? I
We
mean,
use agave in our house for
you
sure.
use agave? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
agave is good, but from nutritional perspective, from the Ayurvedic nutritional perspective, where we are trying to give heavy duty nutrition, the nutrition is going to come from good molasses and date syrup. So great question, Brianne. Raw sugar is basically a refined good. Umaji, I'm trying to explain about good here. Do you use good? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to save this and move forward. So and I think everybody knows what my plate is, right? So there used to be this pyramid in the United States, which nobody could ever understand. In fact, when I was in India in high school, they were showing and teaching the American pyramid to us because I had home science, which is home economics, in high school. And I was like, what doesn't make sense to me because goes against all our Indian principles of eating. And it would never make sense to like an Indian kid in high school. Why are you teaching the American pyramid here? Well, they were only teaching it that this is what they teach, but of course, nobody followed it over there at that time. And then Michelle Obama, when she was the first lady, she had it changed to My Plate, which was so much more simpler, right? Now, the Department of Agriculture has made this, and it's kind of a template that is used for diet. And you have My Plate for kids, you have My Plate for women, you have My Plate for men, you have My Plate for people who are recovering. There's a whole My Plate. So what Harvard University, the Harvard School of Medical Health did, they took the My Plate and they turned the My Plate into, for example, My Plate says you should have fruits and vegetables and just made it very simple. I'll show you in the next page. There you go. Very simple. Americans need simple because that pyramid was terrible. Does anybody remember that pyramid?
Yes.
Yeah, it just used to drive me up the wall. So it just says Yes, and it's true. It's true. Fruits, grain, protein, vegetables, dairy. That's what it is. This is awesome. Compared to the pyramid, this was amazing. This is awesome. Now, what it doesn't say whether the fruit needs to be canned or what fruits. It doesn't say which grains. It doesn't say the grain could be bread or the grain could be pasta. It doesn't say it's a vegetable based protein or animal based vegetables. Are they canned, tinned? Are they cooked fresh? What vegetables? It doesn't say. So what Harvard University, the Harvard School of Medical Health, they added grains to whole grains. Instead of like white bread, it has to be whole grains. And that is the one thing they pretty much added. And they added kind of a variety of vegetables there. So you can go to the myplate.gov and see. So think about how is this? You've been learning about fruits and vegetables and grains and nutrition and Ayurveda, and you can unmute yourself and get started. How is this? How will Ayurveda differentiate? This is great, but what is the Ayurvedic my plate? Ayurveda also says eat vegetables and fruits and grains and protein and dairy. But what is the difference according to you that you've learned?
With the
Basically, I say one seasonally it will be different, and also based on what your dosha is.
So yes, it'll change by season and it'll change by dosha. Thank you, Lori. Who else went up? Devi, you were saying something?
the 6 taste in the plate.
Exactly. 6 taste. So it'll be by the rasa, right? Who else is next? Brianne? Melissa, sorry.
They will also add in different seasonings, like spices.
Seasonings, flavorings to make it more, and it'll be fresh, right? I mean, I'm giving you an idea. Okay. Next, anyone else? Brianne?
I guess also include being unprocessed.
Yes. Unprocessed. I'll just write fresh because I said it already. It should be fresh. It should not be tinned or canned, ideally. But Ayurveda is okay with dried food, the sun-dried. It does lose a little bit of a prana, but some prana is actually locked in when you sun-dry stuff. All right. Heather, did you go already?
The time of day that you should be eating and the quantity that you should eat.
Welcome, Annie. Do you have any Annie, do you have any comments? How is Ayurveda My Plate different from this? All right, I'm going to circle back with you. Uma?
Yeah, so I think like maybe it also depends on the body type and then how we the foods.
Body type and how much they can digest. Their their digestive ability.
Yeah, digestive ability.
All right. So I'm going to just add one more. Annie, is that you? Okay. I'm just going to mute everybody here now. Did anybody miss out? Everybody spoke, right? Yeah, okay, awesome. That is amazing. So we got, it's differentiated by season, dosha, 6 tastes, seasonings, flavorings, unprocessed, fresh, whole foods. I'll just write whole foods. So whole foods, whole grains, right? What about organic versus conventionally grown? Yes? Okay, so organic is best.
And local, if possible.
Organic and local, exactly. Organic and local is the best. Yeah. So one of the things I did that too for the first few months that I was here. Those of us who immigrate from a different country, and Heather, you went to Scotland, so you may have done that too. We take our eating habits and our culture with us. So I came here and I went only to the Indian store, and I only bought the Indian veggies. bought Indian food. And for a few months, I was doing that. And then I had a friend visit, well, and a god sister visit after a few months. And she looked at because in India, we do not process the milk and add, and she looked at my milk and said, "This is nonsense. What are you drinking? Cows are treated badly." And she told me, so then she took me to this is going back 16 years ago. And then I had been here 3 months or so. So she took me to the local store, introduced me to organic, because in India, all milk was organic. It's coming from the cow. We worship the cow. So for me, it was like unthinkable that they are going to add these additives. And then I was vegetarian, and she's saying this milk is not vegetarian. They're adding vitamin D, 'cause only vitamin D3 is vegetarian. The other, they add fish oil to the milk. I had to immediately stop taking milk. I'm like, what is happening? So because I was just going to the Indian store and getting it. So I myself had to be educated because I moved from India, right? And then I had to understand about conventionally grown vegetables and fruits, because it was not in India, we were not doing that. Everything that we were eating was naturally naturally organic foods. We had our food delivered from a farm. So all my life, so I had to learn that. So it is possible that you may have a client who is not aware of these things. So there's a great example Heather had given in one of the discussions on Canvas about was it your dad who gave the cookie to, or was it your father-in-law? Heather had given that example, because you don't know, the way our culture is, we show love by giving calorie, and that's what we do in India also. How do we show love? In Greece, in Rome, in Italy, how do you show love? You show love by feeding people, and you feed them calories. That's how you show love. It's a cultural thing as well, right? So wherever you are from culturally, it doesn't matter. So you have the Asian plate, the kind of food that people eat in Asia. To give you one example, if you have been into China or other Asian countries, you've been to Korea or China or Japan, they eat fish. But they also eat fruits and vegetable, and it's a very complete. They have whole grains, and it's very complete. And the portion sizes. Let's not forget that. How did I forget this? Portion. Oh my God. Have you seen the portion sizes in this country? Unbelievable. So our portion sizes are also smaller. Another thing is, we do not mix dairy or wine. Like, what do? You go to a restaurant, people start drinking beer and they order a wine. And I think there's even an art of pair the cheese with wine. Cheese and milk should never, ever, 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 ever be taken with alcohol. It is so bad for you. Do not mix from Ayurvedic perspective. If you're 22 years old and your body can get rid of the toxins produced by it, no problem. But if you are in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, do not mix alcohol with cheese. Keep it separate. We, like we do not want to give dairy with fruits. Fruits and dairy do not go together. So the combination of the food also we do not. So the moral of the story is, Ayurvedic My Plate has to be made by your Ayurveda counselor. You will have to, so you can do a consultation on making a plate, Ayurvedic My Plate, for your clients. For example, this is spring, do one for spring, one for summer, one for winter, one for at least three, have 3 consultations with them in a year. Also depends on how much they can digest it. In Ayurveda, you are not just what you eat, but you're also what you are able to digest, right? How complicated is this? That's why you need an Ayurveda counselor to make you a My Plate. Now what you can do is you can have 15 different My Plates templates with you and print them out. And when you have a client, you can just give them one, and I'll show you some of them. Is this interesting? Is it making sense? Yeah, awesome. Let me get rid of all the animation. All right. So here's an example of a vata. I don't know, can you guys see it? So you see, this is by one of her students, Faith. She was Vata. So she made, so one of the things we say is we want you to make a my plate for yourself. In the liquids, she added warm water. CCF is cumin, coriander, fennel tea. And in Ayurveda, we actually want to boil these things. It's not just you put it in hot water and let it seep. You actually boil the cumin, coriander, and fennel seeds for a minute or two. And if you are a kapha person, then you also add ginger to it. You actually boil the ginger. Fermented dairy and drinks, for example, buttermilk, but they are not immediately taken with the meal. They're taken maybe 10 minutes after a meal, not with the meal. Yeah, because when you're eating and then immediately all these, hydrochloric acid, all these enzymes, all these digestive activities taking place, you want the food to get digested. If you throw liquid at it, if you throw water at it, then it will reduce the agni. So you can sip water, no problem. Sip a little bit of water, but don't drink the water. And after 10, 15 minutes of eating, then you can have your water, tea, whatever, buttermilk. That is the idea. So sweet, so she has added sweet, salty, and then obviously you need something of every taste. So fire, water, and earth combinations are smaller, right? And the biggest in her plate, sweet, salty, and sour foods would be maximum. And grains are sweet. Most grains, not all grains, most grains are sweet, with the exception of buckwheat is not sweet, and some millets. Millets are not sweet. Um, Barley, millet, barley, and buckwheat are some example of grains that are not sweet, right? Otherwise, most of the grains, rice and whole wheat and all of those, they are all sweet, right? And then fruits are all sweet and so on like that. Salty is things that are seaweed and things that have natural salts in it. And sour, you already know, right? So this is a really good example. So if I'm going to give you an assignment, make my plate for yourself. You can use this template for yourself, but you have to choose stuff that is like Divy Dorita is in Colombia. She has to choose stuff that is available to her in Colombia where she is. Uma, you're in Houston, you have to choose stuff that is available to you in Houston that you're able to go get it. So it has to be very practical, right? I don't know who did this. I think, yeah, this was somebody who really liked art. It's very sweet. Oh, Emily did this. Yes, Emily is an artist, actually. So, yes, this is back in 2020. So, we couldn't do any in-person stuff. So you will see our students from 2020 went a little mad on this project. So she did mostly she did half sweet, which includes nuts, grains, oils, meats, and dairy. And then she has given some examples here. And then the sour, salty, pungent is like very, very small, maybe it's 15% of her diet. And bitter is a good, you know, um, you can see there's a 90-degree angle here. It's a big, big, big chunk is bitter. All right, this is kapha. This is, oh yeah. So Kaylin, when she made it, she was pregnant at that time. Yeah. So I think had, oh no, that she did another my plate. I'm sorry. So this is before she was pregnant. So when she's trying to get pregnant. So you see she'd added, as a kapha person, bitter, dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, herbs, spices, astringent, raw, pungent. She added lots of pungent. You can add radishes, you can add garlic, herbs, spices, horseradish, onions, garlic. They're all in the pungent category. And of course, the sweet, sour, salty is very less. Now, if somebody is diabetic, right, then you will give a kapha, but you will remove literally the sweet, sour, salty will become even small. Does it make sense? So this is a my plate for a well person, not a my plate for an unwell person. You are not to make, because you're not dietitians. And if some of you are going to go do the practitioner program, in practitioner, we are going to make meal plans and meals for an unwell person, somebody who's just had surgery. So you can make a my plate for pregnant women, postpartum, and general like digestive imbalances and dosha. That's it. That's your scope. Maybe Lori, being a nurse, she can go a little further and do it for people with certain comorbidities. But we study that, we go really, really deep into that in the practitioner. But even making such a meal plan. So there are two things. There's meal plan and there's a my plate. You need to make the meal plan before you can make the plate. Or some people want to make the plate first. So we do have a class on meal planning today, which is very important. Right? So I really love the fact she's done 1/3 protein, 1/3 carbs, and 1/3 vegetables. So one thing is, carb is not a 4-letter word. It has turned it into this, abusive word that, oh my God, I don't do carbs. I don't do carbs. I just want to do, I'm sorry, this is my Valley Girl accent coming out. Okay, hopefully that'll stick. We want to avoid, so whosoever is making a my plate for themselves. So if you're a kapha, or right now your kapha is high, use this. Okay. So we are going to give you this, and you're going to use these my plates as a template to create a meal plan and my plate for yourself. Or maybe if you have family members, if you have kids, we also will give you some bento box ideas for kids. Ideally, I want you to actually make a my plate, in the sense you make a circle and give a visual aid. That's how you, but if you're really bad at drawing and you don't want to do it, you can just simply write it also. But we want it in a form of illustration, as that's what the assignment is. Now this, just to give you an example, was done by a student, and she simply just wrote it on a piece of poster, which is amazing. I love it. Look, can you see this? Prakriti is pitta, Vikriti is pitta with increase. So she made it so her plate is designed to decrease vayu and not increase pitta. So again, she made it with the 6 taste, and in the sweet, she has grains and root vegetables and fruits. And then you have the bitter, and so this is a combination of pitta vata. So it's a really great, and I love the fact she's added spices, oils, and consideration. Now this was another student who actually used the my plate format here, and he added small amount of meat, nuts, fruits, grains, veggie, dairy, and drink. But he's added not, so you will have access to this. I think I already shared this with you yesterday. If not, I will share it again. Plus, it's also in your AC102 Google Drive as well. So if you guys could actually sit down, make everybody makes a my plate together for vata, pitta, kapha, vata, pitta, pitta, kapha, vata, kapha, pregnant woman, postpartum woman together. And that could be your final project. That would be awesome, because then you will have this template that you can use for your clients when you graduate. I mean, we are giving you this too. You are very welcome to use all of these. That's why these are stuff made by other students. And of course, if you need any help. So those of you who have children, I know Brianne and Heather, anyone else who has kids here who needs to cook for kids here? Uma, I think you have children, right? Anybody else?
I have a 16-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Even with 16-year-old, trying to get them to eat. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. I have a difficulty, like to make her eat, and then
Yeah.
but
Also, one of the things is, one of the things that is in the scope of Ayurveda counselor is to give advice for children over 5 years old. What are you cannot give any herbs or any supplements to the kid, right? So only thing you can do for counseling for children, like you have a child, let's say, who has a lot of allergies and kapha, right? Or you have a child who tends to have constipation. These are the kind of things so the only thing you'll be able to do is you will have you will see the child, you will give the consultation to the mom or their guardian or their dad, whosoever is looking after them and cooking for them, right? And you're going to have to give them some meal plan ideas for the child, for the constipation or the allergies. For example, if you have and I'm surprised, I'm going to give you one example. My son has a a friend in school. It's a mixed group. So my son's 4th grade, he's 3rd grade. And the child has a lot of allergies. So luckily she cut the dairy out. Yeah. But there are so many kapha increasing foods. And these are kapha allergies like congestion. And one of the things she's part of a group that kids have, kapha allergies on WhatsApp or something. You know what they do at night? They are making the child take a head bath with cold water every night. And they don't understand why the child has all this kapha. Oh my God. First of all, you don't take a bath at night. It should be, oh my God. And you never wash your head. If you have allergies and you have kapha, you don't wash your head. Maybe wash it once a week in the afternoon with warm water and you immediately dry it. Yeah. And then she was giving a lot of kapha increasing foods, even though she cut out the dairy. So she came to me for a consultation. Well, it was more like a, quick consultation, friendly types. So I gave her tulsi tea, tulsi rooibos tea with honey and ginger and all. And I made her a little thing with all kapha spices. This is a vata child, by the way. Vata child. I gave kapha spices and said, you make this. All she has been doing is she has she has stopped doing the bath at night and washing the head and just giving tulsi tea. And let me write that, tulsi tea. This is my formula. If anybody wants it, I can send it to you. I don't sell it, but I'm happy to send you some. So tulsi tea with rooibos and like all the, think of pumpkin spice kind of things. And now 1 week, she told me there has been no allergies, nothing. Even with the weather being, so apparently with the weather, when it's rainy, they're aggravated. It is not. So just removing. So this is what you do. And this is a 8-year-old or 7-year-old. So, and I told her, go tell everybody in the WhatsApp group not to, I don't know where they got it from. If somebody has allergies, they read it somewhere on, this is a thing. You go online and you read it on the internet, and internet is always right, isn't it? You read it on the internet and then they start telling each other, or it may have worked for one person. Maybe the allergens or pollen was stuck in the hair and washing the hair helped. Then they say, oh, this worked for me. That means this will work for you. Oh, no. Just because it worked for you does not mean it will work for other person. So this is a mindset we have to kind of work with. So for children, when you're doing a counseling session, you're going to give some advice on this. And you can do a separate, like you can do educational classes. So this is one. This was made by, let me see if I can make it bigger. No, it is not allowing me to make it bigger. Okay. So in 2020, we had a group, and one of those group is one of your teachers today, Anuradha. This is so because they were never coming in person because of the COVID, they all went nuts. We have all of these beautiful, so they spent 1 month making recipes and whatnot. So you have this if you have, and also when you have children, do you have kids? And those of you who have kids, like Heather was telling you, Heather, you were telling me, you cannot give carrots or something has to look, kids, even when kids do not have, kids are so particular, they don't want. So you have to kind of first make it and see if they will like it, or you have to hide the veggies and other things. The texture has to be right. Some kids are sensitive to textures, but we are going with someone who's, hide everything, so the energy balls, like my elder who's 17 now is not going to eat potato. If they see potato, they will not, if the potato is outside and they see that I have potato, they think I have added. And I do use potato for binding. It's starch, and starch is needed for binding because I do a lot of grain-free stuff. I'll do grain-free stuff. At least one meal a day is grain-free. How am I supposed to bind food without potato? So I use, and plus myself, I'm perimenopausal, so I use many different kinds of sweet potatoes. I use the purple Japanese potato and whatnot. And then what I do is I will do a meal planning where I put them in the oven, I bake it, and then I hide it in the fridge for the next day. So I'm only taking one out for doing the binding, and I'll make different stuff with it. So these are all recipes. If you have kids, please try it, and it may not work for your kids, but this is a meal planning portion for your kids from Ayurvedic perspective. This is for Pitta dosha: dates, lemon rice and cilantro, coconut water, zucchini soup. I mean, good luck giving zucchini soup. I used to do zucchini. I make zucchini cookies with cassava starch, arrowroot starch, almond. Oh my God, I end up using a lot of nuts and zucchini. That's the only way my child will eat. Oh, wow. You do? Oh, Annie, why do I go grain free? Because the children a lot, even if you the children, everything is wheat, right? Yeah, so we try to once, like yesterday was a grain free day. Once every 15 days we go completely grain free. There is, because your body needs a break from heavy foods, right? It's like a fast. So yesterday we ate only a lot of nut milk, lots of fruits, and I did cassava starch tortillas. Yeah. And some, yeah, lemon rice and cilantro are like a South Indian dish. I'm pretty sure Uma and Sangeeta ji, maybe Sangeeta ji, I don't know if you do it. But one thing is, if you add lemon while it's cooking, it can become bitter. You're supposed to add fresh. Actually, we don't even use lemon. We use the green limes. You add the limes after it is cooked. So you cook the rice first, and then you kind of saute it. And then once it's sauteed with everything, you add the cilantro and lemon at the end. Because if you cook with lemon, it does lime, it does become, yes, exactly, Sagideji, after it cools. It's so tasty, I cannot tell you. It is amazing. I mean, I remember when I was pregnant and the vata is high, I would put lime in everything. I was doing lime. It was nuts. And you can, with dates, you can do a lot of things as well. Right. This is kapha dosha. I really like the Southwest wrap. Actually, this recipe was given by one of the students there and I used it, and my kids loved it. So I learned from this project also, because some of the recipes, and then applesauce, what we do is, you get the apples, ready-made apple sauces, which we use. Obviously, we don't want to use ready-made apple sauces, but if you're making, Heather, do you make your own applesauce? Will Oliver eat that? Just add, oh yeah. So can you add a little bit of, cardamom or cinnamon or these, or would that be too much? Yeah. So you start adding the, one of the things we can do is the child is not going to have a supplement or herbs. You can start adding those supplements in their food, right? For example, I remember I had one, I'll just give you one example. So I had a kind of a friend, and we used to make jams and jellies together. And she was complaining about the, child had some issues, and we wanted to give the child some herb supplements. So we hid the herb supplement in the fresh strawberry jam. Not kidding you. Like even trifala was hidden there. Put it on, it's just, she was putting it on the toast. And yes, now my my 9-year-old Ishan, he tells me, like, sometimes we will get, if, well, for example, if I am not at home, Atul will get something from Chipotle, some beans or something, and Ishan will eat it, and Ishan will say, well, they don't use asafoetida, don't use hing, it makes me farty. I'm going to tell mom. So then he comes and complains about that. So, yeah, I know. So the point is, even the 9-year-old knows adding, they don't soak, like even you get that, oh my God, I love that stuff, the refried beans. Sometimes I love refried beans. It's awesome. One of the things is, even refried beans, they're not soaking it. You're supposed to soak very simple things. Kids will, their intestines, they not well developed, and they're eating so much wheat. Everything is wheat, pasta, wheat, 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 wheat. Everything has so many corn, high fructose corn syrup, and there's all these inflammatory things that are going in a child's colon, which is not fresh. I mean, every child needs some junk food. Just once a week is good. Just do it. But don't do it every single day. Don't do it every single day. Once they develop a taste for it, and the thing with juices, give a child fruit instead of the juice and things like that. So this is something that we can work with. I tried the salsa for my kid. He thought he was too spicy. So I took the onion out, I took the jalapeno out, I took the chili out. It was literally just cilantro, ginger, and black, and then he was able to have it. This, the last one. Oh, this is my mung bean burger. This is me. I think this one was taken from my recipes. Try that. So what I do is I'll do the soak the green mung beans. And I don't do quinoa, I use oatmeal, because what oatmeal does is, so one of the things I do, which they did not use here, is, I think I mentioned it. Sometimes you make mung bean lentils, right? And the next day they're lying there and you don't want to have, so what I'll mix the leftover dal, and this is Umaji and Sagita, I take the leftover dal, add oatmeal to it. What oatmeal does is, you can do quinoa also. Oatmeal will suck the water out of the, and then you add some, veggies and some flavorings, and you turn it into a burger. Yeah. Yesterday, one of our meals that I gave the kids was the grain-free burger. It was just, yes, the dry oatmeal, you soak it with the dry oatmeal will just suck all the water and get cooked, right? You have to soak it for like an hour or so. Yeah. And then you're cooking it. Then I add the ginger to it, and I add all these fenugreek, whatever spices you want to add and flavorings you added. I add veggies to it. I try and add crunchy veggies, because that's how my kid likes it. But Ayurvedically, you're supposed to have cooked veggies, and then you just flip it like on a pan like a burger, and put it in a bun and give them the mung bean. It's so much better than the. I tried just for the heck of it. Like, there was a couple of, I'm not going to take brand names, from Whole Foods, and they had no taste. All these veggie burgers are tasteless. You have to add flavoring to make it tasteful, even for the kiddos. So bland. It's like eating cardboard. They're so bland. Yeah. I'm almost done. So if you look at a nutrition label, if you look at a Western nutrition label, I don't know, in Colombia they also use it, but here they check, if you look number 2, they check the calories, and of course per serving. Nobody, and who did they don't tell you what a serving is. So if a box has something which has 2,000 or 5,000 calories, they will only write 250 or whatever, because they will, because there are no laws. They have reduced the serving to, I don't know, 5 pieces of crackers or 5 pieces of whatever. Does anybody eat like that? And then, so you think, oh, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It is only like 100 calories or whatever. But like the example that you were giving, Heather, in the, in your Canvas discussion, oh, it is only 100 calories, the cookies. But forget, Ayurveda doesn't care about the calories. It is the nutrition. Which is, now my kids love cookies and all of this. I started doing, and kids will never eat one. They want more and more and more. Immediately there is a gratification. Forget the kids. I'm also like that, Umaji. I'm not. So I love sweets. I am kapha. I love baking. That's why I started making grain-free cookies. I make my grain-free cookies. I'll make avocado cookies with avocado oil. I do grain-free cookies with avocado and, I'll add veggies to it, carrots to it, whatever. They will be, yeah. You don't do grain-free cookies for kids? Yes. And I use either coconut sugar or I use blackstrap molasses. The kids seem to like the coconut sugar better than the blackstrap molasses for some reason. Yes. And one thing that Leah has this recipe, I love it. She does a dark chocolate cookie. So she does dark chocolate with cassava and almond flour, and the instead of using butter or ghee, she uses coconut oil. So coconut oil, dark chocolate, coconut sugar. That is a very good. It's a really good recipe for kids. I'm sorry, I have to admit, she got that for my kids once. Dark chocolate and coconut made with coconut sugar. I ate half of it. It was so good. Yeah. You can also do like dark chocolate laddus. I don't know how to say it. Balls. Dark chocolate, coconut, and blackstrap molasses. Yeah. Or you can use date sugar as well. So these are, so the reason I had to come up with this is because I am trying to avoid the kids eating nonsense, basically. And I'm also trying to avoid me eating nonsense. So I do all these, desserts. Oh, one of the things that my kid loves is rose balls. Basically, it's rose sugar, and a little bit of dark chocolate, and it's cassava and it's made with ghee. It's to die for. Amazing. All right. So you know that they do this vitamin A, C, calcium, iron, this, that. From Ayurvedic perspective, very, very quickly. Yeah, we're going to do some stuff. I'm almost out of time. Can you think of some of the things that do not add up here from Ayurvedic perspective? Yes, it's not checking the prana. Exactly. Prana content is number one. What about ojas? Is it good for immunity? Yes. That I would say is the number one. You nailed it, Sangeeta. Thank you. Anyone else? Exactly. It is not individual as well. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yep, which dosha if it affects. This is a really great two of these from our students, and this is going to be my last slide. So this is Ayurvedic nutrition facts would be what dosha it balances, what dosha it aggravates, whether it was organically grown, prana level 5 on scale of 10, ojas, guna, whether it's heavy, oily, soft, dry, light. I love this. She did the RRR. Rasa, whether it's sweet or sour or bitter or stringent. Virya, remember you did? Everything is either heating or cooling. Everything that we put in our mouth is heating or cooling, right? And Vipak is how it is processed by the body. And protein, animal source is very important. Plant protein is easily digested by the body compared to animal protein. And then you have this example of, oh yeah, this was done by one. She had actually made this. She made it and she tasted it and then she wrote, this is so much fun. This is a fun project. So rasa guna prana dosha. So this is another thing. And that was my last slide. Before we, yeah, that was it. Let's stop recording.